Well, good afternoon, everybody. All right, y'all got to give more energy. We got y'all in. I know. Well, this is the leadership, y'all. I mean, do y'all think y'all are the best class ever? Is that? Oh, no, y'all not. Y'all not, though. But y'all really aren't. We are. We're the best class ever, class of 25. But it is good to see everybody here today. I might try to. Can y'all hear me if I don't use the mic? Can y'all hear me? Yeah. Okay, great. I won't use the mic. Okay, Trump. Oh, look who snuck in behind me. Who's that guy? Well, I'll be quick because the main attraction is here in Mayor Scott. But I will be very quick and tell you a little bit about my role as Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Baltimore, which it is absolutely my honor. It's one of my greatest privileges and honors to be able to serve the people of this great city and to be the second Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Baltimore. Mayor. First woman and second Chief Administrative Officer for the City of Baltimore. So Mayor Scott, in his infinite wisdom, when he was the, I'm sucking up because he's my boss, but in his infinite wisdom, when he was the council president, he actually introduced a charter amendment to create this position of Chief Administrative Officer. So when you look at all of the other counties across Maryland, they all have one thing in common. They got a county administrative officer or a chief administrative officer for each of the counties. And the city of Baltimore was one of the only jurisdictions in Maryland that did not have this role. And when you look across the country, about 80 to 85% of large jurisdictions. So when you think about Washington, D.C. and some of the other large cities across the country, most of them have a chief administrative officer, a city administrator, a city manager. They all play the same role. And so I've been privileged to be able to serve in this role for the citizens of Baltimore. So what does the CAO do? Who knows? Who knows? I heard, what did you say? Runs the government. Essentially, yes. So I am responsible for the day-to-day operations of city government. So I got on my DPW swag because I was over recently with the leaders in the Department of Public Works. They are about to release their strategic plan. And so I got to spend some time with our frontline employees in water and wastewater, as well as in solid waste, who do the incredible work that keep our city moving. And so I got to spend some time with them today as we start to really dig into and develop this long-term and long-range strategic plan for our largest department in the city, which is the Department of Public Works. But everything from Public Works, when we think about homeless services, the Department of Transportation, all of the city government agencies report up to the city administrator, and then, of course, I report to the mayor. We still are a strong mayor form of government. So we are what I would consider probably one of the strongest mayor forms of government that exists when you look across the country. And that was a thing that was in question at one point. What does it mean to have a chief administrative officer? What's a chief administrative officer versus a chief of staff, right? The chief of staff is political. The chief administrative officer is supposed to be nonpartisan and is not involved in the politics, but is responsible for day-to-day. And so that is what I get to do. And there are about 13,000 plus employees in the city of Baltimore that I'm responsible for every single day. And so, again, it's a really incredible job. And every single day is different. There is no day that is the same, whether it's an underground explosion on Charles Street and trying to understand what is driving and causing these underground explosions, to the mayor calling you at 1 a.m. trying to explain to you how a bridge fell in the water and you cannot comprehend what that means. That's my job every single day. And I will tell you, I've done a lot. I worked in the private sector, worked in a number of governments. So I worked in DC government. I worked in Mecklenburg County and Charlotte, North Carolina, and have done a number of roles, but there is nothing like Baltimore. There are no people like Baltimore. And this is the hardest thing I've ever done. I actually worked on Wall Street for some time before I came here. It's way harder, but way better and way more enjoyable. And I get to do it with people that I admire and people that I love and people that have become family, like the mayor. And I'm going to turn it over to the mayor so he can talk a little bit about what it means to be mayor of the greatest city in the world.
Well, it's going to her, actually. So, Faith, look at your text. Good afternoon, everybody. I think everyone in the room knows me. I'm Mayor Brandon Scott. I have the pleasure and the honor of being the mayor of the greatest city in America. Something that I wanted to do since I was 6 years old. If you never heard the story, but really for me, actually was if you saw me gazing at the wall, it's because in I guess a week there's going to be 4 new portraits on this wall, and Ashley, I'm going to get personal enjoyment on watching all 4 of them be in the room at the same time. They're all yelling at me about that. I cannot wait to get all of that on videotape. But really, it is really the greatest pleasure of my life. I grew up here in Baltimore, as you know. I grew up in Park Heights, and this is now going into my 19th year in City Hall. It's been a long ride. I started as a unpaid intern, and now I'm the CEO of the greatest city in America. And right now we think that our city is finally being able to turn the tide on so many things that we have been struggling with for a long time. Now, what the city administrator told me was that her leadership class was the best leadership class of all time. I'm not going to get into the debate about that. Ms. Carolyn, they didn't allow me to do leadership. We're a little bit more liberal with what we allow our staff members to do. I couldn't go to grad school or do leadership. I could only work all the time. But now, don't tell Mayor Rollins Blake I told you that. But now we are open to that. But really, I came here today just to say thank you, congratulations, but to just have a conversation. So let you guys ask me as many questions as you want in my time. And I hope you're doing your recovery from this Saturday.
I'll start because I thought Saturday's running festival, Ashley Dallas, it's probably my favorite day of the year for being a Baltimore City resident. You were out there from the moment it started until the moment it ended. Your coverage was amazing, and so I got to give the mayor a little fist bump as I crossed the start. But the city was amazing that day, not just the mayor's office, but the BPD, cheering people on, all of the just neighborhoods that you run through. It was amazing, and I thought we looked just so great. And so I'm coming into City Hall feeling like a proud Baltimore City resident.
All right.
I think everybody did a great job.
Thank you. My name is Brandon Scott, and I approve this message. Anybody got any questions? Oh, this is going to be great. There we go. You can ask me anything you want.
Catherine Lawler, you mentioned a turning point, this is a turning point. What's the benchmark that you use or benchmarks that you use that you or the government use to dictate that we're at a turning point in the right direction?
Well, I think a few things, right? When you think about Baltimore, right? When I came into office December the 8th of 2020, folks were saying that there were a few things that this is what's holding Baltimore back. One is obviously the pandemic, right? We all were dealing with that craziness. I would be in this room by myself most of the time back then when I was doing any meetings because I got so bored with sitting in my office. I would do it in the BOE room, in this room, in that room, in that room, just because I didn't want to be in the same spot all the time. But then we knew also that public safety, violent crime was the big thing that folks were saying was holding the city back from the kind of investment. And then we were also able to tackle some other things, right? So as we're talking right now, Mr. Chair, we have the lowest amount of homicides through this date on record ever, bar none. There's no argument with that. But we have a lot more work to do, and that's something that we pride ourselves on. When I leave you guys, the police commissioner is going to be in my office for our weekly meeting. I didn't tell him that Charm's also going to be in the meeting, but I'll let him deal with that when he gets there. Charm had a field trip, which is why I'm dressed like this today. We had a field trip to the aquarium, and I am exhausted. So, but then we also know that we had to really start to get the economy moving in the city again, getting people back to work, right? And obviously, all of this is pre-crazy people in D.C., but we also, in my first term, hit the lowest level of unemployment ever for the city of Baltimore. And now we have billions of dollars of investment come into the city, $7 billion alone just in the downtown. But it's no longer just about downtown. We have the fewest amount of vacants that we've had. We actually have a plan and strategy to eliminate vacant housing in the city over the next 15 years with the state, the city, private, philanthropic folks, all the things that people said Baltimore couldn't do. One, we couldn't deal with violent crime. Two, we couldn't work together on these tough issues. We are proving people wrong on them, and now we just want to see that continuously change. I as the mayor and as the chief seller of the mayor outside of Megan, I have to spend a lot of time out of town, and my conversations whether I'm in New York, as I was 3 times in the last 2 months, right? Whether when I'm going to Houston next week, whether it's California, no matter where we are. I was in Savannah, Georgia last week. We thought we were going there on, well, some people thought, not me. We were going on a learning mission, only for the people there to say, well, we're stealing your ideas, right? Like, the world has changed when it comes to thinking about Baltimore, and people from the outside of Maryland have a very different viewpoint. They see us as a city that's on the rise. We just have to get that to get into the counties to get them to understand it as well. Great question. I'm gonna go over here and then come back.
Chris Marshall.
And y'all don't have to stand up, please. Okay, please. These days, I'm very sensitive, even more sensitive to that kind of thing these days with you know who.
I was going to build off of Catherine's comment. I'm going to make a comment off of Catherine's question. Beth Blower's team at Hopkins. She made the city, not a city stat, but a city comparison tool. I don't know if you're.
Yep.
Just want to make sure you had access to that.
If Beth has it, we have. Beth was my intern 2 summers ago, so yes. It's the best intern I've ever had. Return on investment there was a great. And then and Ron and Michael said, like, no, she has to come back to work.
Your name is constantly on our kitchen table, my wife and I. Couldn't be bigger fans based on your humor. Obviously, your effective leadership.
Don't let them tell you that, the humor part. They don't think I should tell jokes. Don't tell them.
Your courage, too. Because
Thank
the
you.
headwinds that you have to face are insurmountable to most, but just applause to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my question, after recently receiving an award for actually being the best class of leadership, we were anxious to hear in our corner or our niches, what can we do to help bolster the momentum of Baltimore?
I think that's the thing. I always tell folks this. When you think about the city, think about it like being this room. Every single seat represents an issue that needs to be at tip-top shape in order for us to be the best Baltimore. So whatever you're comfortable with, right? So for some people, that might be getting involved in anti-violence work. For some people, that might be helping young people read at grade level. For some people, that might be buying vacant houses and renting or selling them to people once they're up to speed. There are so many things that we need people working on, and that's how we've been able to make this progress. The best thing about Baltimore, I'm anywhere, like, what makes Baltimore what it is? Why is Baltimore called Charm City? I say it's the people. The people make this place as special as it is because we all are so committed to the collective, and that's what we really have to continue to do. This is a moment, especially right now, where we have to be focusing in on the things that matter, but also how we can push back against those headwinds and continue to make the progress in spite of them. But thank you, and thank you to your wife as well. And now, the question from the Grammy nominator of the year. If y'all didn't know that, yes. There's a story behind that where we were doing a karaoke contest and then, like, karaoke versus someone that's on the Grammy committee. Seems kind of unfair. But go ahead, Michelle, you good.
The council members did Wu-Tang's Crying.
Well, I did. I don't know what the rest of them, what they did.
They did a great job, but we did a better job. So my question to you is a selfish question. We got peace movement, we can't cover that. Can you pop out to the,
What is it, next weekend?
no, it's the first full weekend in November, and you know how you popped out to the
Oh, yeah.
rally before?
I'm-
I promise I won't have a water gun this time. But yeah. like-
Peace weekend, and I got attacked with a water gun. Just want to point that out for the record.
It was hot, I was trying, you had a suit on, it was like August, and you had on a suit. So, I'm trying to help you out.
Hold on, let me look. I'm pretty sure a certain someone has texted me about it already too.
Oh, I'm pretty sure. So like, you know, putting out the challenge to try to get as many people out as possible.
So it's the 7th and 8th that weekend?
Yep, so the 7th would be the rally, so we're really trying to get those corners filled, so if you could put out a challenge, that would be awesome.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, I'll hit y'all up about that later on.
Okay, thank you.
I do have to open the ice rink that day too, but we'll figure it out. Yes, sir. What's up, John?
John Kern, can I get you to focus a bit on the Pennsylvania Avenue corridor and Micah to Coppin area in terms of your vision for that area, particularly just because of the opioid restitution work, that, you know, super kudos on the vacancy reduction, all this money coming in, a lot of private interest, a lot of speculative
Yep.
interest in the neighborhoods. Just your vision on that kind of West Baltimore cross.
Yeah, so that is a big area for me. Actually, is part of the reason why I was in Savannah, because, you know, they have SCAD, right? And my particular part of the trip was looking at SCAD, all the development they have done, all the partnerships that they have done, and thinking about how we can evolve with that kind of stuff. But we're also not waiting for that. For example, like it's supposed to be this week, but they got reassigned. I'm actually moving Charm TV to Penn North, so they're going to be in a new building built right there. We will in the next 2 months open a new rec center in Penn North. It's really about working with not just us, the city, Wanata, Coppin, Micah. It's about figuring out how we can do that whole thing, because when you have the university, and Coppin's doing a great job on their end, we have to continuously get the stuff and right at Penn North in a better position, both with the private investment, but also what we can do as a city. But it's really about learning from some of the folks around the country. And I saw firsthand last week some great stuff, some places that we've been vacant for a long time that I was like blown away. I felt like when I walked into, they do like the story of SCAD, and you go into this room, like a bookcase opens up, it's like smoke coming out, and you go in, and I literally felt like I was inside the Beauty of the Beast library. And everything was coming alive. It was really good, but we got some good ideas, and we're going to be talking with folks about that. Thank you for that. That was a timely question, because I'm freshly back from trip. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Julia. Well, I'll build off of that and just ask you about your vision for arts and culture for the city, and if there is an arts and culture strategic plan in the works.
So the Moe's folks haven't been there that long yet, but for us, we know this city is not going to. That's part of what attracts people to Baltimore, is this vibrant arts and culture scene that is a little different, right? We got a little chip on our shoulder, a little Old Bay sprinkled in, a little bit of grittiness. And for us, it's really about how we create avenues for all of it, whether it's in music, whether it's in physical art, whether it's in the theater, and what I've tasked Lindsay and the team to do. And they're still, if folks are interested, we're still hiring for some of the other positions in the office. It's really not just developing a plan, but also building the relationships that allow whatever the plan it becomes to actually be implemented. Because there are a lot of plans in my office that have been like sitting there that don't even make sense anymore for the city. And we have to make sure, much like we did with our comprehensive violence prevention plan, where we actually went out into the community. Thank you, ma'am. Shell was one of the mediators working with the community to help us when we did that work. We have to do some much similar things, because for me, there are things that I know very well about arts and culture, right? Anything music, I know. But as someone who basically got a C in art just to draw because I tried, like that part is never going to be a strength for me. But there are so many people in the city who do have that. And really, I think when I think about some of the things, I think about the Scout Art Fair that we had at Artscape last year, right? There was a whole bunch to do about me moving Artscape time-wise, which I personally thought was crazy because people always complain about the weather. And I'm a data guy. We looked 25 Artscapes, 20 of them have been interrupted by weather, right? Like that means in that 25 years, we had 5 artscapes happen without any kind of cancellations. We weren't going to keep doing that over and over again. But one of the things for me that was always important was that, like, we call it artscape, but like no artist really worth their salt is going to come and sell art outside in Baltimore in July or August. It's just like not going to happen. A thunderstorm might come. It might be 115 degrees, all of these things. But what we saw there, we saw the ability to now take that to the next level and build on that consistently. So I'm looking forward to it. It was great. I got some good ideas for this year, so it's going to be really good.
Jack Burton, you get to see like a very diverse amount of challenges, opportunities. You get a lot of exposure. How do you prioritize, and like how do you become more knowledgeable about the subjects that are coming up in your line of work?
Well, Jack, I think that if any of my brother or sister mayors were here, they would tell you that we have to be experts in everything, because everything ends up on our desk every day. And it just so happens for me, it's a little different, right? I grew up as a staffer, so I knew I have to remind some of the agency folks and staffers, like, you can't try that with me because I know you better than you know yourselves. Anything that you guys have thought about trying as a staffer, I totally did it and got away with it. So you can't do that. But it's really that combination for me, right? I have the lived experience of living here in Baltimore City, right? Growing up in a very different time in the city. I have that experience of working from the ground up, right? When you think about some of our agencies, for example, McKinsey, that runs the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, we were coworkers as staffers together. Knowing all of the agencies is a basic requirement, but it's different when you work there, right? Like, I used to work in the Mayor's Office of Criminal Justice, which is what Muncie is today. I also, like pseudo, worked in BPD and Rec and Parks and DOT and this. So having all of that experience, you're going to know the kind of issues that come up, and you prioritize them based on what the deep impact is to the city, especially from a human capital standpoint. Obviously, the emergencies always are going to jump to the front of the line, and I'm going to do that because we've been doing pretty good on emergencies recently, and the city administrator is not lying. I did call her at like 1:20 in the morning and said the Key Bridge collapsed. She was like, "What?" I'm like, "It's gone." "What do you mean it's gone?" "It's gone." And eventually I said, "Just go on the internet." But those things are always going to jump ahead, right? But when you think about the day-to-day, and this is also as important, this is why I thought it was so critical for us to join the rest of the free world and having a professional city administrator, because think about it like this. Historically in Baltimore, right? Literally, it would be the mayor and the mayor's chief of staff and the deputy mayors doing everything all day long, right? Like, and Ms. Carolyn can tell you better than anybody, right? If somebody, just happened to be driving down the street and saw the mayor and like their water meter was leaking, then they would come to them. That's not what they're supposed to be dealing with all day, every day, right? Like, some people enjoy that, but I know that like there are things that rise up to the level that we should be dealing with all the time versus allowing us to have professional staff and a professionalized government to handle those things. And that's what these two ladies do a beautiful job of. When it's time for me to get involved in it, if it's something small that I have to get involved in it, I'm not going to be happy, right? It should be things that are of a level of significance that it requires me to say yay, nay, or maybe say before everyone gets to move. But it's always, for me, life and preservation of life is going to be number one, right? When you think about infrastructure in the city and what that means, that's always going to be high, because if people don't have water, people don't have gas, people don't have all of those things, then they can't survive. And then you have to make sure that you're working from there. But emergencies come. And I tell anyone that starts working in this building, whatever can happen will happen. You just have to know that and be prepared. And when you've been through some of the things that we've been through, right? For me, been through the double blizzards, been through 2 blocks of houses exploding, obviously the bridge, right? When you've been through so much, I think that it's sad, but it's amazing at what we can be good at, right? And handling emergencies for us is like second nature because we've dealt with so many of them. Go ahead, Wesley. I'm gonna go to Wesley, then come back.
Wesley Hawkins. So as being a fellow Baltimorean, we've seen like the population decrease over the years. And I know there's a lot of work being done in the city to correct the violence and crime and stuff like that. On your level, what is the plan to be able to help our population increase? Like we are a college city, college state, but a lot of the students, they come to school here, but they leave. And I see it firsthand every day. Being a professor at Coppin, that they graduate and they leave. So how do we, as a city, get more people to come here because the population helps in other areas?
Yep, I think it's a great question. Actually, for the first time in over 10 years last year, we had an increase in our population. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I think, Wesley, it's one, handling those issues are a big reason, right? Because we don't have that big thing being held over our shoulders all day unless they watch a certain TV station or read a certain newspaper, but which they should never do. So tell all your friends friends watch Fox 45 or read the Baltimore Sun. But the other stuff that you have to do is that we actually have to be providing communities that people want to live in, right? That's why the fact that we as Baltimore City has built or renovated more new schools than any urban district in the country in the last 10 years is important. When you see these videos that Live Baltimore puts out, they're talking about that kind of stuff. I was in Philadelphia. I was in whatever place. I was in places that I'm going to be telling Megan in the next few weeks that we should target with ads for me talking to people like, they don't like you, come to Baltimore, right? Literally, DC. I mean, but that's important. The investment that we're making into recreation and parks is important, but also helping people be able to afford to live here is important. So when you think about the money that we put into home incentives and buy back the block, all of these things that we're doing, people, and it's not just about moving people here, Wesley, too. It's about keeping people, right? Making sure that people that are renting that were paying $1,300, $1,400 a month, that were now paying $8,000, $9,000 in a mortgage, but they didn't have the down payment. And those are the things that we have to be doing to allow folks to be here. And employment. They need to have places to work that they can provide for their families. And I think we're really starting to hit on that. We just have to keep going. And we're at a very unique point where we can steal people from other places, especially places in the South where people, like if you're a woman, if you're LGBTQ, if you're black, if you're brown, right, you don't feel safe there. And we have to be targeting those people, and we will. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm coming back. You already asked the question. No, I'm coming back. See? Now I'm getting sprayed with that water gun for sure now. No, you're fine. I won't be winning a Grammy this year.
Karen Pollock, and it sort of follows on that, the last question. Can you help us to understand how you think about the tax base challenge?
Ah, yes. I'm glad somebody. Ashley, close your ears. I'm glad somebody brought this up. So this is where I go into the Professor Brandon Scott mode. When you think about basically every 80 major city, I think it's 82%, Faith, I think I got that number right. All cities went through some of the similar things that Baltimore went through, right? They went through redlining. Yes, we were the birthplace. Where is he? I can't find this picture now. Oh, before you guys leave, make sure you click the QR codes. Now we have a history-telling mission inside the BOE room for many reasons, because there are going to be some folks that are upset that two particular mayors are getting portraits, but I will just say that there are people on this wall already that did much more egregious things, including like trying to kill a president and inventing redlining. So if they can be on the wall, so can they. And they can argue with their mama, not with me. But when you think about that, redlining, deindustrialization, and then more in particular, when the suburbs were being built, we had this outflight of people. Well, basically in every other state other than Maryland, they came up with this thing where we have to plug the city's coffers with something to replace what they're going to lose in property taxes, or they're going to be over-relying on property taxes, as we are in Baltimore. So that's where you have these state local sales tax that pop up all around the country. Well, we have a local sales tax here in Maryland, it's 6%. But the difference between us and, for example, our sister city in St. Louis or Philadelphia or New York or Cincinnati or Cleveland or Pittsburgh or Savannah or Atlanta is that the state keeps it all. Whereas in those places, it's a split. So in some places, they actually get more than the state because they're the ones generating the money. And here in Baltimore, we don't get a dime. Every penny of that 6% sales tax goes to the state of Maryland, something that we're trying to get changed. Because, for example, as we've been asking, if they were to give us 1% of it, I would be able to give every homeowner immediately, overnight, $1,000 off their property taxes, just like that. It literally would just eliminate essentially the difference, right, between the cities and the counties that way. And it equates to about $71 million a year for each, right? And if they gave us 2%, so we're not greedy. So if our brother and sister cities are getting like 4 and 5% out of 9 or 10 or 4 out of 8 or whatever, we're just asking for 2 out of 6 or 1 really. But the other 2% we would use to hasten the pace of the $3 billion vacants program that we have. So it's a fight that we're going to continue to have and ask Annapolis for until maybe one day they get it. There is, ironically, they do let one jurisdiction, let's see if anybody knows, one jurisdiction in Maryland keeps some of their sales tax money. Does anybody have a guess of which one it is? Not you, Shamalia. Anybody have a guess? You want to take a guess, Miss Carolyn? Say what? Nope. Nope. Ocean City. Ocean City gets to keep part of their the restaurant money that they get. They said, so imagine my response when they said, well, it's because it's a tourist destination. I said, well, we had more people last month than they're going to have all year visit Baltimore. So it's an unfortunate thing, and it's a heavy hill, but it's a fight that I'm going to have as long as I'm here, because because some folks will try to trick you. They're going to say, well, like, oh, the city gets aid from the state. Every city I mentioned gets aid from the state in addition. And also, it's very different too, because we have 25% of our property that we can't tax, which is a significant portion of that property is actually state property. State. Yep. Go, please. I don't want to be super soaker in 2 weeks.
My question is, given the push to make Baltimore like an arts and culture destination, has any thought been given to doing those conversations in like the arts community, like we did with GBR, has given them office to me?
Yes, but I gotta hire all the people first. But yes, it absolutely. That's the kind of conversations that we have to have. So that's what I was getting at earlier. Just having those conversations with folks, and I'm gonna skip the one with the DJs.
Megan McCorkle. One of the things that has been a challenge for many, many years, and I've known each other for many, many years, is the national perception of Baltimore.
Yep.
And it's because of a lot of media that's been out there, and
HBO.
yeah, and it holds. You are traveling to cities all over the country now. There are a lot more national headlines that we've seen in the past, 3, 4, 5 months. Do you feel like the winds of Baltimore are starting to read nationally and turning the tide? Absolutely.
And I think this was even before the national headlines of the last few months. And I think the president's comments actually, in that sense, have really helped us, because people don't believe anything he says, right? So, like, as they shouldn't. But they actually looked and saw, like, oh, no, they're actually doing it. The irony is, for us, is that we had a bunch of national interviews and stories about the violence reduction, like the month prior and leading up to him, like, waking up. I was actually in Mexico on my anniversary when this happened. It like ruined the last day of my trip. I had to do like a Zoom interview, like poolside, like with just my head. No one knew where I was. It was awful. My wife was so mad. But prior to. And then since then, folks have been reaching out because they want to tell the real story. But even before that, like I said earlier, every time we're traveling, we're hearing a different story than what it used to be. And I think that's a great thing. That's the testament to everyone's work about how we've made the city move in the right direction. It's about making sure that we capitalize on that. I think that because sometimes we fall, every city does, but I know Baltimore, right? We fall into this, we're here and we can't see outside of what we know, right? And folks will say like, oh, it's so bad. I won't name the person, but it happens on this trip every year. So for the last 3 years, every city that we've went to has been like a mayor that I'm extremely close to. So last year they went to St. Louis and there was no mayor. Like she spoke at my inauguration. And the year before that, we were in St. Paul, right? You didn't go to that one, did you, Faye? You went? No. And like somebody, who I know spends a lot of time watching a certain TV station, asked a question of the mayor, because the mayor always comes, Mayor Melvin Carter, like, well, what kind of strategies can you guys give to our folks back home about driving down gun violence? And I'm like, oh, hell, he's about to feel real bad in about 2 seconds. And Melvin says, well, I get all my strategies from Brandon. Right? Like that's the kind of thing that we get in everything, right? Like folks call me about your guys' ads, right? People are like, how did you do this? How are your guys doing that? And I think that that's something that we should take pride in, that we are a leader. And close your eyes again, actually, like when we go to MACo, the Maryland Association of Counties, every year, it's essentially all the counties, Miss Carolyn, you know this, all the counties like stealing all the city's ideas and then going to Annapolis in January and telling us the city is so bad. That's literally what it's like.
Carolyn, I'm sorry. It's a requirement. So, as someone who grew up professionally for most of my adult life in City Hall, I definitely appreciate the work that all of you guys as well as the mayor do. And I was really excited. I was geeking out about the permit person. So because
you remember those headaches, huh?
I remember those headaches, and I wanted to just hear a little bit more about your vision of how that will make things move more smoothly, or how what the vision is for that.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think for me, I come to this in a few different ways. One, as Carolyn knows, we all found out during the cyber attack that like our systems, thank you, badly. Like when you hear folks asking like why it costs so much for the website, like that website was so bad, and so the ability for us to just get attacked was so deep and easy. But anyway, when the permits, I come into it from a two-edged sword for me. One, as Ms. Carolyn just noted, that's one of the number one things in my time in government people have complained to me about, right? A permit for this or that or that. And it's because the systems suck. Housing system doesn't work with DOT's. DOT's system is so old that the company doesn't exist anymore. And the only person that knows how to work it works in DOT. And then American Park system is different. All of these things are different. Now what it's about, and Shemaya is going to faint because she's overseeing the whole that section of the work is. Because it's hard. It's much like, Ms. Caroline, you would know this better than anybody. When we decided to do a work day for everybody and not piecemeal it at the same time, you're going to get that kind of stuff when you peel the Band-Aid off, right? It's just going to happen. And really what I want us to do is have a 21st century thing where we don't need everybody to come into Able Woman to get these things. Some things we can automate. Some things that we can put in a place where people can see in the queue and say, okay, these things need to go faster. And folks don't think about it on the permit and the connection to inspections, right? Because I grew up working for my family's business doing air conditioning, heating. Some of the best days of my job were some of the worst for my dad and my uncle and my dad, because they would be paying me to sit at a place because we're supposed to be getting inspected based on a permit. Well, if they were late, like they were like, oh, we're coming on this day, and they wouldn't come. I would just have to sit at that job site all day. But what that means for our business owners is that now they're falling behind on their other work because they're having to do that. And we're just really going to get the system so that, and you know them too, so that they don't call me every other week complaining about the permit.
I also think that that's gonna help with the county perception of Baltimore isn't running efficiently. Like, we're doing really well in the national
Yeah.
front. But like, you go to Towson and you hear your friends complaining about the city, and I'm thinking, well, grow a little. Why are they complaining? Oh, well, tiny heating and air conditioning business hasn't been paid, or they
Yep.
get their permit. So if you can clean that up, like, the county kind of city thing will get better.
I thought you were going to say Towson, they were complaining about Thirsty Thursdays, but that's college students in Towson. It's a crazy thing. It's a crazy, crazy thing. Anybody else? Bueller? Yes?
Adam Ritz Brown. So you talked about the strategy for growing the population and changing the national narrative around Baltimore, but I feel like an important driver of getting people to Baltimore is companies. So I'd love to hear you talk about the businesses.
Yeah. So I don't know if you've seen it. It's our Baltimore Together plan. It's about growing the city in the city's businesses, but it's not in the stereotypical way, right? For a long time, whoever was sitting in, I guess that's my chair, and this chair, would always think about how we can attract like the next big fish. This isn't just about attracting the next big fish. This is about helping us grow. And for us, we have to think about where we have those growth opportunities. One of the best ways is in tech right now. We have all these startups popping up at Hopkins, at Maryland, right? We have the ability to help those businesses grow and stay here in the city, which is a deep focus for us. But also light manufacturing, the things that we know, the kind of businesses that we know our large companies are going to need, right? When you think about our eds and meds and what those folks are going to need, we have to make sure that we're tying that at Hopkins started that, and now BDC is going to be doing that, the Be More Local stuff, taking it to the next level. And that's what we have to do, and helping those businesses grow and stay here. Because yes, the big folks, when they come in, they hire people, et cetera, et cetera. But when you think about that long-term growth, right, and a lot of times they're bringing people with them. We're talking about helping these small go to medium go to large, because we know that these folks that are already here are hiring Baltimoreans, and we want to make sure that they stay here, especially in that tech industry, because we know it's one that's growing. Like, we want to be the Equitech Silicon Valley of the East Coast, where the crabs are better than the Dungeness crabs that they have out there. Old Bay is always better. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor, first of all, thank you for spending time with us each and every year. I have a last question for you. So you mentioned Camden, and I think you said going on a field trip.
No, Charm went on a field trip, yes. If Camden went on a field trip, I wouldn't be here. I'd be asleep.
So my question is, what has becoming a father taught you about being a mayor?
I think I'm a little more patient now than I was. See, I looked that way because I knew that both of them would do that. So imagine how impatient I was before having children. No, I think that I'm a little more patient now. I always treated all the children of Baltimore like they were mine, but now it's an even deeper commitment to that, right? Like, because I know whether it's actually what I sent Faith right before we got here, or something that's happened with these kids. I don't really argue with people in the comments, but there was one idiot yesterday on my Instagram post. So, did anybody in here go to City of Pilot? See, I said City of Pilot. I did not say the Dove Shack. Great. So there was a time in this town where the Poly City football game was the big rivalry. Don't tell them that died 20 years ago. But the new one, because it's about who's actually going to win, is Merville Dunbar. But everyone knows I went to Merville. But Dunbar's quarterback, I was his first flag football coach. I literally am the person that introduced him into football. And after the game, he wanted to take a picture. I took a picture with him. He had a bad game. I'm so glad he had a bad game. I reminded him he had a bad game. But I also reminded him that, like, it's just one game, right? That he, like, forget about it. It's over, right? And what was great for me was that, like, these kids who are, like, devout rivals, they, like, during the game, they hate each other. But afterwards, like, they're all fine. They're doing jersey swaps, all these cool things. Some idiot, grown man, decides to comment, like, oh, and you take a picture with the kid who threw interceptions. I'm like, what does that matter? Like, that game's not going to define this young person. And that, I think, the more than anything, is driven me, being a father driven me more to every time somebody, no matter who they are saying stupid, ignorant things about our children in Baltimore. It just makes me just, yeah. Because I think that if we lived in a world where, and Wesley, no one knows this better than you, where what the majority do every day, and the majority of our young people are doing the right thing and great things every day, is what gets blasted versus this very small group of them gets blasted every day, people would think differently about our city and really about our young people. So, and if you haven't seen it yet, you should go down Pratt Street. All of our valedictorians and our scholar athletes have banners all up and down Pratt Street, so you can see them. And what they don't tell y'all is that they give that award to every class every year and say they're the best, but don't tell them the mayor told you.
Thank you. All right, big round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. If you have permit issues, give them to Shamaya.